He's our old friend Six Gun. Brandon Gibson is here. Hello, sir. Oh, is this corporate Six Gun?
No, this is my own home.
Wow, look at
Six
you.
Gun. Hey, COVID was good. COVID was good because I got into indoor plants, Ariel.
Wow, I love this. I don't know if you've ever done one of these from your home. This looks lovely. You're all nice. You call. I thought you were at your normal job. You still have the job with the city, no?
Yeah, still serving our community here in Albuquerque, and I'm very blessed and privileged to have that job along with my night job, my alter ego, training some of the baddest dudes on the planet.
I love it. And it was great to see you and Greg and the familiar faces front and center on Saturday. You guys have had some special nights, some amazing moments together as a team with Jon. Is it even possible to rank where this one, considering the last 3 years, considering the move up, the questions about where he's at, did he lose the fire, motivation, and then he comes out and he freaking steamrolls Ciryl Gane. Where would you rank this one? Is it possible to do that?
I've had some really special moments. I think I would put this one at the top. The 3-year camp, the trials, the tribulations, the belief, the faith, everything we put into each other. It was really special. And, Greg's probably cornered 500 plus UFC bouts, and I've probably done 150 with him. That was the most emotional I've seen Greg Jackson get during a fight.
Really?
So it was very special to all of us.
Wow. That surprises me because, to your point, he has seen and done it all. Was this like after the fight, like after he won, or in the middle of the fight?
It was right when Jon won. I took a moment sitting on that corner stool and just kind of said a little prayer and gave thanks, because it was quite the journey to get there. And I remember turning around, looking back, and seeing Greg, just eyes welled up and so much joy and pride in his face. And yeah, Greg's been in there with GSP and Rashad and Holly and Carlos and Bones, but we've never had a heavyweight champ of the world. So
Wow.
I think it's something very special to all of us.
That is amazing. You gave me chills because Greg is one of my favorite people in the sport, and to see or hear about him being that emotional is pretty damn cool. Were you in favor, like 3 years ago, whenever this all started, were you in favor of him moving up to heavyweight?
Absolutely. Absolutely. The gym is one thing, right? But it's still a litmus test. We get to see how guys perform in different weight classes and against different strengths and styles. And I always knew that Jon had the skill set, the physical attributes, and most importantly, the mental mindset to not just compete at heavyweight, but to be a world champion.
And so initially, as he was making that transition, how were you feeling? Like, did you feel the same confidence as, Jon Jones, the light heavyweight, is preparing for a fight? Or was there ever a period, now looking back, where you're like, I wonder how this is going to go?
No, we were always confident. We just wanted to do it right. We wanted to do it right. And just like GSP's move up to middleweight, this stuff doesn't happen overnight, and especially a jump from 205 to heavyweight. It's not like the featherweight's going up to lightweight. Jon put on 30 to 40 pounds of strength and size, and it just doesn't happen overnight. And not only is it that strength and size, Ariel, but you want to make sure that their neurons are firing with that new body size and the weight, and that he could be dynamic, explosive, and skilled as he always is. So, it was a long camp, and I'm happy we waited. I'm glad we did it right. And I think it all showed in his performance on Saturday.
Honestly, were you expecting that? I'm sure you were confident. And I hate to use the word easy, because it's still a freaking cage fight and there's a big guy there in front of him. He did make it look easy, and that's a testament to him. But were you expecting it to be that one-sided?
I think we were ready for that war to go in any direction. I think we were prepared for a 5-round battle. I think we were also prepared for a flawless victory like that. We trained for all elements, and Jon was definitely prepared to go 5 rounds, but I'm very happy that he was able to go in there, take no damage, execute the game plan and his skill set so flawlessly, and just put on, that might have been his most dominant performance in his championship run.
Yes.
So I'm happy here he is at heavyweight, and he just put a stamp, a mark that he is here, and he has arrived with a new style and dominance.
The big talking point going into this fight was the last 3 performances. He looked the way in which he did because he was lacking motivation. He had done it all at 205, and he just wasn't getting excited for these fights. Anthony Smith, Thiago Santos, Dominic Reyes. And I wondered if that was true. You don't know. But then you come in and you see him look the way in which he looked at heavyweight, and you're like, oh, maybe there was something to that. Was there something to that? Was he lacking motivation going into those fights?
Yeah, he was. And I wouldn't necessarily say it was motivation or lack of respect, but you find a different gear when that sense of fear kicks in, right? When that guy standing across the cage from you makes the hair on your arm stand up. Um, and at heavyweight, I think we'll find a lot of opponents that bring that. You know, light heavyweight's so dynamic. These guys have so much skill and technique. Um, but it's not like heavyweight where these guys can barely touch you and it's lights out. I think at heavyweight there's so much less room for error. Um, and that entices Jon, that intrigues Jon, and that motivates him even more. So I'm really happy he made this jump, and we had such a focused and disciplined training camp, Ariel, and brought out some of the best guys I've ever met to be a part of it. And I think we're going to see a very strong run here at heavyweight for Jon Jones.
Oh, I'm on the court here. I mentioned that on Monday, it was like an A-plus fight week for him. You know, there have been some, obviously, where there's been some drama, but it seemed like it was flawless, and it seemed like he was really enjoying the whole process, right? Like the smile on his face, press conference. I saw him hanging out with the fans. It felt like he was inviting everything. Like he missed it clearly, but was just comfortable in his skin. Even when the photos came out of him and some people were kind of joking about his physique, like he even took that in stride, it seemed like. I mean, no one wants to be made fun of necessarily. And it's like, who are we to make fun of freaking Jon Jones? But like even that he was joking about. He was being self-deprecating about all that. Press conference, I thought he did great. And that's just what we see. Would you characterize the week the same? Like did it seem like this guy who was just so happy to be back and just in great spirits? Because that's how it came across.
I think it was even greater than what the fans saw. I mean, the whole week was just full of laughs and smiles and inspiration and strong spirit, very strong spirit. And it was great to just see Jon at peace and excited about being back in the cage. And there wasn't jitters, there wasn't nerves. It was very comfortable. And I think he embraced all the elements of the media and the fans and the bright lights with such grace and with such comfort, right? Like he knows he's Jon Jones. People know he's had mistakes, and he still felt so embraced and so loved, and that crowd erupted for him. And he's just true to himself, Ariel. I'm really happy to see Jon at this phase in his life.
How was he in the aftermath? Was it I mean, it was cool to see his family there, his brothers there, his father, etc. But just in the aftermath, like compared to the way he's handled some of his other big wins, was this any different?
No, I think he handles it all just with grace and humility and a lot of gratitude. And actually, this was the one I probably saw the most gratitude. Very kind to his training partners and the coaching staff and everybody that helped get him here, because it was such a long road, Ariel. I think there were a lot of doubters and naysayers, not just from the fight fan or the fight community, but even here in Albuquerque. And he knew that the guys that stuck with him always believed in this goal and always believed in him as a man. Like it's not just about the wins and losses in the sport. It's about all of us becoming better humans every day. And I think Jon, myself, the rest of the coaching staff, and the rest of the training partners, we all grew together in this. This was it took a long time for us to get here, and I don't think we could have achieved this goal without us becoming the men that we are, truly.
So you speak about that, and I would be remiss if I don't ask you about Coach Winkeljohn, who was not there. Famously, he came on this show, and after the incident with his fiance, he said he was not welcome back to the gym. You and Greg and others decided to still work with Jon. How difficult of a decision was that for you? And was it weird to be there without Coach Wink for the first time?
That's a hard question. I have the utmost respect for Coach Winkeljohn. I've been his student for 22 plus years as well. And everybody's their own man, and everybody has their own choices to make of who they spend their time and give their energy to. But there was never a question in my heart of continuing to be Jon Jones's coach. And I think the challenges were, kind of putting together this new team, and we had a lot of guys that have been part of the team for a long time, like Coach Aaron Soriano and Roberto Alencar, really step up into their new roles. But it's always a shift. I mean, we had over a decade of dominance together as a team, and now it's another chapter. But even myself, I had to step up into some new roles, Ariel, and I'm proud of the men that came together. And I always have the utmost respect for Coach Winkeljohn. I wouldn't be here without him. So, and I have no doubt that Greg Jackson and Coach Wink will continue to build great champions together.
Can I ask about the new roles that you had to assume for this one? What were you doing that was different?
I think it helped a lot put together training partners. We started this camp 3 years ago in Jon's garage.
Wow.
And one person I'd like to give a real special, thanks to is Tom Egan, former UFC fighter, former coach to Conor McGregor. And him and I developed a friendship on The Ultimate Fighter many years ago. And Tom was one of the first guys to reach out and said, dude, I have some amazing heavyweights that could really help Jon on his journey. And we all, as a team, took a trip to Boston and met Jorgen De Castro and Domingos Barros and Mike Rodriguez. And those guys were key in helping us claim this championship on Saturday night.
Wow. I didn't know that. So he just hit you up?
Yeah, we'd always been in touch. We'd actually talked, about having some other fighters cross train and learn from each other. And when Jon needed some sparring partners, Tom graciously reached out, and the whole team, we went to Boston and just had a blast. And Jon was able to really solidify some friendships and with these new training partners that came down to Albuquerque and trained with us for months and really put their heart and soul into this camp as well. So I have a lot of gratitude for that trip and those men.
Do you think maybe a blessing in the time off and working with other people? Like, I know a lot was made of Henry Cejudo helping out a little bit. Sometimes we tend to make too much of this stuff. I don't know how, and even when Jon was asked about Henry, he quickly turned and gave all of you guys props. But there is something to working with other people, right? And getting good looks and just kind of getting out of that routine, is there not?
Absolutely. And I'm a big advocate of that. I think MMA has grown so much over the last decade. And I think kind of like these secret dojo trades and secrets are really being dissolved. And there's just so much knowledge out there, and there's so much brotherhood and bonds and opportunity. I think it's great to cross train. I encourage my young athletes like Aaron Pico to do the same. And I'll continue to do that. And I can't put my own ego or pride first. And I don't believe that any one coach can build a champion. I think it takes a lot of influences.
And so there is talk now that he's going to return. Obviously, we saw the moment with Stipe. Stipe tells us July. My understanding is that is nowhere near a done deal, but it's clear that Stipe wants it. And it seemed like Jon wants it. Would you be in favor of him returning relatively soon? I mean, I remember him fighting in end of April and was scheduled to fight DC UFC 200. So that's a much shorter time. This would be about 4 or so months. Would you be okay with that turnaround?
Absolutely. I mean, I think it would have been a different conversation if he would have been in any way injured or scathed on Saturday night, but he said he was more sore from the warm-up than the fight. I think he's going to have a quick turnaround. And, a lot of these guys that have helped us over the course of this training camp have upcoming fights. And Jon wants to get in and help those guys. So he's a true team leader, a true captain and true brother to these guys. So I know he wants to get right back in and start helping. I'm all in favor of July. I think Jon has all the tools, the momentum, and the motivation to go out there and have another dominating performance in July.
Do you think the Stipe fight will be any tougher? I only ask this because obviously he's one of the greatest, but he also hasn't fought in 2 years. He's coming off a knockout. He's older. What are you expecting out of that fight compared to what we just saw on Saturday?
I think that we still have the utmost respect for Stipe. I mean, he's a dangerous man. He has amazing cardio for a heavyweight. He has power in both hands. He can punch off his heels. He has great pressure fighting, great clinch control, great wrestling. I mean, this is a man that took down Daniel Cormier. We got to train for one of the greatest heavyweights of all time, which brings a lot of unique challenges. But on the other hand, Stipe and his team have to train for Jon Jones.
Yeah,
and I don't think there's any clear path to victory with Jon. We're going to take this very seriously. I know that Jon's going to be ultra motivated. He thinks Stipe is the greatest heavyweight of all time, and I think this is another stamp to solidify Jon's status as the GOAT.
One thing that I've always respected about Jon, his fight IQ, but also his preparation. Like, the guy speaks openly about watching film and how obsessive he is about all this stuff. It still blows my mind. I was talking to Anthony Smith about this on Monday, and I was like, man, here you have the greatest fighter of all time in most people's eyes saying that he watches everything, right, on his opponent. And then you hear other guys who are nowhere near as good, with all due respect, and they say they watch nothing. And then Anthony was like, I'm actually one of those guys. I was like, wow, why wouldn't you want to see, is Jon unique as far as your fighters are concerned? Like, does he watch more than most, or is that a common thing among the Albuquerque guys?
I try to make it a common thing. I know Greg Jackson does as well. It should be a common thing. It should be a thing that is embraced, and not just watching your opponent's bouts. And this is advice, Ariel, I'd give to any young fighter out there watching. Like, be a student of this game. Get your bachelor's degree in MMA. Get your master's
Yeah.
degree. Get your PhD. You want to go out there and fight for $500? Then don't watch fights. Who cares? You want to be fighting for millions of dollars one day? You better be a student of this game, and you better master it. And that's definitely something that Jon has not only inspired other fighters, but inspired the coaching staff. Like, we're all so dedicated watching film together as a team, watching it individually. We have notes that are so detailed that we revise. We have copies getting printed out every few days. Like, I look at this as like a NFL level coaching job. We need to be on point, because this game is so dangerous, Ariel. If my fighters get hurt, it could affect their whole future, their whole lives. That as fathers, as husbands, as brothers, as sons, like, I take this very, very seriously. And part of the way I show that is by watching film and being as prepared as we can. This is a crazy game.
Of course. I won't hold you to this, but I'm just curious. Like, I was talking on Monday, is it possible that we have like 5 or 6 more years of heavyweight Jon Jones? You know what I mean? Like, he's still in his mid-30s. Do you think that, like, how many more years do you think we actually have left of Jon Jones, the fighter?
I don't know. I'll leave that up to Jon. I think physically and mentally, he can go a long ways. And we've seen so many great heavyweights have incredible performances throughout their 40s. I mean, even Stipe's 41.
Yeah.
But I think Jon's going to be one of those athletes that walks away early.
You think so?
He's going to walk away early. I think so. I think Jon will ride off in the sunset, and us as MMA fans will still be like clamoring for one more, talking about potential matchups. But I don't think Jon's going to have too much more to prove.
Wow. Do you think, is it possible the Stipe one is the last one?
I don't know.
Wow.
I don't know.
I'm putting you on the hot seat here.
I think he has a lot of motivation, and I'll leave that up to Jon. I think this time away was really good for him and us as a team. He hasn't taken any injury or damage during this time, which I think is really key to future bouts. But I think we'll take each one as its own camp and not look past it at all.
By the way, just excluding this one because you said it's at the top, which is your favorite Jones fight that you were a part of? I mean, there's so many since 45, right? 145 was your first, am I right?
Yeah, and I'd been working with him for a long time prior to that, but that was my first time in the corner. And that
right.
one just has a special place in my heart because, we had so much love and respect for Rashad. And then, there was like,
oh, it was weird. Yeah.
The Jacksons versus Black Zillions. And there was a lot of emotion in that. That was one that always really stands out to me. I think that the second Daniel Cormier fight was a big one. The first Daniel Cormier fight meant a lot to me, like in my personal life and what I was going through at that time. So that one has a special place in my heart. They're hard to rank, but man, Saturday, maybe I'm just still riding the high of it, but just heavyweight champion of the world, Ariel, sounds so good.
It's so crazy, man. Like, even thinking that Rashad fight was 11 years ago. Isn't that nuts? 11 years ago. We've gotten old, Brandon.
Still getting better. He's still getting better, my friend.
I know. It's amazing.
Age is just a mindset. It's just a mindset when it comes to Jon Jones. Maybe not the rest of us. But
yeah.
Jon it is.
And the crazy thing is, all those guys are gone, right? Like, all the dudes that he was fighting, Bader's still around from pre-championship, but the rest of them, there's literally, it's just the recent guys. It's Tiago, it's Anthony Smith. That to me is the part that's the craziest. He just won the heavyweight championship, and all the guys that he beat on the way up are all gone.
I mean, he took out generations, right? He took out the prior generation of legends, the Shoguns, the Rampages, and then he took out all of his peers. And he's still here performing at the highest level. It blows my mind. I was actually walking out of the arena the other night and ran into Rashad and Anthony. And, I got a lot of love for Rashad. It was good to see him. And he was just blown away. Like, dude, can't believe how good Jon is still.
Yes.
Getting better.
So you mentioned Aaron Pico, by the way. How is he feeling? Last time we saw him was that crazy scene with the shoulder. How's he doing?
He's even better than he was. He needed that shoulder surgery. It was a long lingering injury. It was unfortunate how that fight with Jeremy Kennedy goes. I cannot wait to run that back. That's something that motivates me every single day. Aaron's shoulder's stronger than ever. It's actually scary. I've been having to really take my wrist.
Oh,
His left hook has been so powerful and so fast. And also while he was rehabbing that left shoulder, and he just continued to polish every bit of his game, from the mental to the physical. Aaron Pico is going to win a world championship in 2023 for Bellator. I have no doubt in my mind, Ariel. I'm going to have
wow.
my two students are going to be two champions by the end of this year.
I love that. And I love watching you work. I don't know if you know this, Brandon. We haven't really talked. I've been hitting mitts lately myself. You know, I'm very slow, but I'm doing it 2-3 times a week, Brandon, and I enjoy it immensely. I enjoy the intricacies. I'm very bad. I'm not going to pretend that I'm good at all, but I enjoy watching people like you work, especially on social media. And I see you. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is it Lydia Warren? You doing mitt work with her?
Yes.
She is
Lydia.
so freaking fast on the mitt. It is. I don't know how you keep up with her. She's unbelievable.
Lydia's going to be a star, Ariel. You know, you're going to have her on the show one day. She's probably not too far away from it. She's a very dedicated and disciplined student, and she just has that X factor to her. She has that star. She has that charisma, and then she shows it in the fights, which is all that really matters, right? But yeah, one of my favorite students. She's excellent on the pads. But it's not just the pad work, Ariel. You got to apply it, right?
I know.
You got to get slick at these combos and then go out there and just sleep some dudes.
I know. That's the thing. Anyone could go brrr, but then you go to the fight, and I'm just going to stick to the brrr. But mine is not brrr. It's like boop, 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 miss, boop. But I'm enjoying it. It's a fun workout.
It is, and it keeps you sharp mentally, right? Like,
yes.
Sometimes I say I'm like a dance partner. You guys got to be in sync with your coach, and it's one of the things that I enjoy most about the mitts. It's a way I could really connect with my fighters and just get on the same page, get dialed in. And I remember watching a 24/7 when I was young with Freddie Roach and Manny Pacquiao, and Freddie said that when he couldn't hold the pads anymore, he was going to hang up coaching. And I think I feel the same way, Ariel. That it's how I connect with my fighter. I don't know if I could be the old man on the side with my old man hat and a cigar, yelling at him. I need to be in there sweating with them to really connect as a coach.
Speaking of Freddie, I saw you. I saw a picture of you with him. When was that from? How long ago was that?
That was Aaron Pico's last fight in LA. So over the summer, we went to Wild Card, and young Caleb Walsh, who's going to be a superstar. I got to work with him with Tony Ferguson's camp a little bit, and we went in there and watched Caleb work. And Aaron and I just took it all in. And I'd been to the Wild Card a few times, but I'd always missed Freddie.
Wow.
So that was the first time I ever got to meet him, and a true inspiration to me.
That must have been a thrill.
It was. I was trying to control my smile. I was geeking out.
What a legend. As are you. Thrilled for you guys. Congratulations. Wonderful stuff. Wonderful to see you guys back in there, and can't wait to see where this goes. And International Fight Week, what a perfect fight. If it does go down on that weekend, that is a blockbuster fight. So hopefully we get it then. Congrats on the win. Congrats on everything. And great to have you back on, Brandon. Great to talk to you again.
Good to see you, Ariel. Keep up the mitt work. Send me some videos.
I will. All right, I will. Thank you, Brandon. There he is, the legend. Six Gun Gibson.